America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Hey man, happy Friday. I come to you. Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Everybody. MAGA, Trump supporters. Hope you've had a great week. The resistance on the left. There I am, former congressman. Thanks, Keith. Former congressman, former presidential candidate. To the resistors on the left, I hope you've had a good week. To every single American, except for Donald Trump, I hope you've had a good week. I've only got a couple things to get across this Friday. Not going to be a long show. That may please so many of my MAGA listeners. Want to start like this. Now is not the time to be polite. This is not the time to follow some rule book. This is not the time, if you're a politician, to sound like a politician. This is not the time, if you're an American citizen, to just kind of go through the motions and the paces and just act like a normal American citizen. Not if you think like I do. Not if you believe, as I do, that the very thing our founding fathers feared is in the White House. If you believe that, as I believe that, this is not the time to be polite and civil. The very thing that our founding fathers feared is in the White House. Now, I believe that. It's why I do this every day. And if you believe that, now is not the time to act with normal respect and civility. This is the time to resist. This is the time to oppose. This is an unprecedented time. If you agree with me that the very thing our founding fathers feared, a king, a tyrant, after 249 years of this experiment in democracy, he's in the White House. The rule of law is threatened daily. Our Constitution is threatened daily. The truth is threatened daily. Our democracy is threatened daily. This isn't the time to act like, oh, we have a president that I just disagree with on a few policy issues. No, that's not the case. If we have a president who you just disagree with on a few policy issues, that's normal stuff, right? That always happens, right? That's always happened. We elect a George W. Bush or we elect a Barack Obama. And we spend our time as best as we can, respectfully and civilly, arguing about, debating, and talking about issues, disagreeing, right? When you elect a Ronald Reagan or a Jimmy Carter, that's what we've always done throughout our history. We've elected presidents, and we've put certain parties in charge of Congress with whom we disagreed with on policy. That's normal. That's normal stuff. That's normal American stuff. But that went out the window when we elected Donald Trump. That went out the window. This is not a policy disagreement with Donald Trump. This is the very essence of the American experiment. And when the very essence of the American experiment is at stake because we have a fucking dictator in the White House, and a reminder to everybody listening right now, this nation got started because we rebelled against a king. And so if you believe that, and you believe that there's someone in the White House who every time he opens his mouth, he tells a lie, who every time he opens his mouth, he tries to divide us, who every time he opens his mouth, he tries to scare the hell out of half of America. Somebody who believes he's above the law. If you believe, as I do, that we have somebody in the White House who believes he's above the law, then this calls for kind of extraordinary measures. It doesn't call for simple decorum and civility. Barack Obama never believed he was above the law. George W. Bush never believed that he was above the law. Joe Biden never believed that he was above the law. Ronald Reagan never believed that he was above the law. Jimmy Carter never believed that he was above the law. Donald Trump does. I started with this rant because yesterday in the House of Representatives, a wonderful, glorious institution, a body that I had the privilege and honor of serving in at one time, the House of Representatives yesterday voted to formally censure Al Green, that Democratic congressman, right? Who in Trump's State of the Union address, Al Green stood up with the cane and interrupted President Trump and then was escorted out of the chamber. You remember that? Well, yesterday, the House voted to censure him. And every Republican and 10 Democrats voted to censure him. Now, I'm not going to debate or get into whether Al Green should have been censured for interrupting Trump's speech. I'm on record. I don't think Democrats should have gone. Here's what I want to address. Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut, he's a Democrat. He was one of the 10 Democrats who voted against his Democratic colleague. Jim Himes was one of 10 Democrats who voted yesterday to censure Al Green. And this is what he said. Here's part of his statement, Keith, if you can put that up. Democrat Jim Himes said, yeah, I was one of the 10 Democrats who said, man, I censured Al Green. Why? Why did I censure my Democratic colleague? Because I revere this institution, Congress or the presidency, whatever he's talking about. Democratic Congressman Jim Himes said, because I so revere our institutions and we need to act with decorum and civility. We need to act with decorum and civility, Jim Himes said. Himes went on to say, keep that up for a minute, Keith. Look, I don't care what you think about Trump, and I know that there were Republicans who couldn't stand Obama, and remember Joe Wilson, Republican Congressman Joe Wilson from South Carolina, who stood up during Obama's State of the Union and said, you lie. And Jim Himes said, I voted to censure Republican Joe Wilson, just like I voted to censure yesterday Democrat Al Green, because I revere our institutions and we need to adhere to decorum and civility. Decorum and civility, Jim Himes said. Decorum and civility. Respectfully, Jim Himes. No, man. Not now. Decorum and civility, that ain't going to cut it now. This is not the time for decorum and civility. Let me tell you something, Jim Himes. You and I agree, man. Like you, I revere the presidency. I revere Congress. I revere the institutions that you revere. But man, Jim Himes, if you want to preserve these institutions, man, you got to fight. You can't preserve, not right now, not with Donald Trump in the White House. Decorum and civility aren't going to preserve these institutions you and I revere. It's going to take fight. It's going to take stepping outside the box. It's going to take shouting him down. It's going to take boycotting his speech. It's going to take a lot of measures. It's going to take civil disobedience. You can take it down, Keith. Decorum and civility, Jim Himes. Right now, when Donald Trump commits how many unconstitutional acts every single day, you care about decorum and civility? He's hired some guy named Elon Musk, who's the wealthiest guy on the planet, to do stuff that he doesn't have the authority to do. Jim Himes, our founders gave us 3 independent branches of government. We only have 2 right now. We barely have 2 right now. We barely have a judiciary. We no longer have an independent legislative branch, Jim Himes, and you're calling for decorum and civility. No, that ain't going to cut it. Democrats, this is the time to fight. This is, as I said yesterday, this is not the time for Robert's Rules of Order. And Jim Himes, this is not the time for decorum and civility. Do you think Donald Trump gives a flying fuck about decorum and civility? Do you think Speaker Mike Johnson, who's abdicated his job to adhere to the Constitution, do you think Mike Johnson gives a damn about decorum and civility? Oh, Democrats, you're missing the boat. Decorum and civility got to take a back seat right now. It's time to fight. It's time to grab your musket, me of the musket fame. It's time to grab your musket and fight for freedom, fight for democracy. Jim Himes, we have a guy in the White House who's publicly standing with Vladimir Putin, an evil dictator. And you want to talk about decorum and civility? Because of Donald Trump, America right now is the enemy of the free world, Jim Himes. America right now is the enemy of the free world. Do you think France and Germany and the UK and all of our European allies right now give a damn about decorum and civility? Do you think Ukraine, men and women dying on the battlefield, civilians being targeted by Russia right now, and we got a guy in the White House that stopped giving military aid to Ukraine, that has stopped providing any intelligence, any of our intelligence to Ukraine, so Ukrainians are dying? Do you think the Ukrainian people right now, Jim Himes, give a damn about decorum and civility? You got to meet this moment, Democrats, and this moment does not call for decorum and civility. This moment calls for righteous anger. and anger against a wrong. And there's plenty wrong out there. This moment calls for fight, principled fight. It calls for breaking all the rules, breaking all the normal norms, right? To preserve the institutions right now, we got to put the institutions over here right now and fight. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard. But you're up against somebody in the White House. You're up against Democrats, an entire political party and their base of supporters that does not give a flying fuck about decorum and civility and norms and rules and laws and all the rest. So you want to fight with both hands tied behind your back? Jim Himes, yank off that fucking tie and fight. Decorum and civility can come down the road after we've preserved democracy and the rule of law and the Constitution and tolerance and decency and all the rest. You've got the President of the United States right now openly corrupt, openly enriching himself every single day, using the powers of his office to enrich himself personally every single day. This is not the time, Jim Himes, for decorum and civility. Preserve these institutions you and I revere, Jim Himes. Let's preserve them. Let's defend them. Let's preserve them. Then we can adhere to decorum and civility down the road. How does that sound? Please, Democrats, meet the moment. So many Americans are depending upon you. Please meet the moment. The world right now is depending upon you. Please meet the moment. Canada, Mexico, our allies, our European allies, the free world, Ukraine, they are depending upon you, Democrats, to meet the moment. Take decorum and civility, wad it up in a ball, and just toss it over there for now. Hey, moving on. The really cool thing about what the country's going through right now, David Stark, thanks for listening, David Stark. The really cool thing about what the country's going through right now, as I look at my phone, is that we get to decide what kind of country we want to be. We get to decide right now. And again, the beauty about Trump is because Donald Trump is so bad and so corrupt and so lawless and so dishonest and so unprincipled, Trump is forcing us in real time to decide what kind of country we want to be. We get to choose. It doesn't have to be this way. Wiley, air, sea, rail. It doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to live in a country where we hate each other. We don't have to live in a country where we hate on minorities and women and transgender Americans. We get to choose what kind of a country we want to live in. It doesn't have to be the MAGA way. It doesn't. I was thinking about this yesterday. You know, Donald Trump became president and he declared war on DEI, right? DEI. DEI is to blame for everything. That horrible plane crash in Washington, D.C. a few weeks back, Trump right away blamed DEI. He blamed black and brown and female air traffic controllers. Donald Trump is blaming DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, for everything. And he's trying to purge DEI from everything. And I'll acknowledge that the left Like, follow me. See what I'm doing right here? The pendulum swinging. And I have no doubt that there have been instances where the pendulum swung too far. The left swung the DEI pendulum way too damn far to the left on a number of occasions, no doubt about that. And now that DEI pendulum is swinging way, way back because now we've got Donald Trump and his administration basically trying to eliminate any reference to minorities or women or transgender Americans or people with disabilities. Donald Trump and MAGA right now are trying to literally erase, see that pendulum swung off the screen, erase any and all references to these people, these fellow Americans in every agency of government. Pete Hegseth, that weekend talk show host who now is running the Defense Department, he's laid down the order that the Defense Department needs to wipe out all diversity initiatives, all references to diversity in all Defense Department pictures and videos. Purge the Defense Department of all images of Black soldiers, female service members, even purged the photo of, you remember, the World War II Hiroshima bomber, the Enola Gay. All photos of the Enola Gay, the World War II Hiroshima bomber, named, by the way, after Enola Gay Tibbets, the mother of the aircraft's pilot, Colonel Paul Tibbets. But even the picture, thanks Keith, of the Enola Gay was removed yesterday because it had the word gay in it. And in the rush to remove all references and evidence of anything LGBTQ, think about this, MAGA. Trump and Hegseth right now are on a mission to remove any reference to and evidence of anything in the Defense Department of anything having to do with LGBTQ stuff. And in doing that, they removed all pictures of the Enola Gay, the World War II Hiroshima bomber, again, named after the mother of the pilot, but because that word gay was in there. Now, is this the way you want to be? MAGA MAGA? Even MAGA MAGA? Like, I get it that you were pissed off about what some of the left did with DEI. And so your guy won and the pendulum is swinging back. But do you want to live in a country right now, MAGA MAGA, where we remove all pictures of the Enola Gay because we can't have that word gay up there? Like, is that a good thing? We get to choose. The pendulum swung, by golly. Hey, MAGA, the pendulum swung your way, MAGA. And we just got rid of all photos of the Enola Gay because of that evil word gay. Because we can't have any reference to anything lesbian, gay, or transgender. By the way, in this purge, in this attack on DEI, this is happening, by the way, in every government agency. This is just the Defense Department, Trump's purge of all things minority, all things women, and all things LGBTQ. Get rid of all pictures, get rid of all references, get rid of all videos. We also, this week, removed all photos of the Tuskegee Airmen. the nation's first black military pilots. Can't have that. Can't have pictures of exclusively black military pilots. That's too DEI. So let's remove all photos of the Tuskegee Airmen. By the way, we also removed, under Hegseth and Trump, the entire all-female C-17 crew during Women's History Month. Can't have that. Cannot have a picture of an all-female crew. That's like too DEI. So all pictures of the all-female C-17 crew were removed. An image of Medal of Honor recipient Harold Gonzalez was removed because he's a minority. And this went on and on and on. So to remove, to purge life of all references to minorities in the military, gays in the military, women in the military, Hegseth and Trump are removing all photos and videos of all black reserves, of all black squads, of all black squadrons, of all female squadrons, of any reference to any minority veteran. And the Enola Gay, the World War II Hiroshima bomber, was also swept up in this purge because of that evil word, gay. So I ask you, America. I ask you, MAGA. Is that swinging the pendulum too far? Like, let's get rid of all pictures of the Tuskegee Airmen because they're all black. Is that swinging the DEI, the anti-DEI pendulum too far? We get to decide. You get to decide, MAGA. Are you comfortable with this? Or would you say, you know what, Trump, Hegseth, that's too far. Like, I don't want Trump trying to get rid of Black History Month and Women History Month and any DEI kind of history month, but he signed a proclamation yesterday for Irish American History Month. I'm Irish American. Really? Is that, come on now, is that swinging the anti-DEI pendulum too far? It doesn't have to be this way. Look at me, MAGA. That pendulum can just be doing this, right? In a good, healthy America, not too far crazy left, where white people get shunned maybe, and certainly not too crazy MAGA right, where we eliminate and erase all references to gay soldiers and minority soldiers. Shouldn't that pendulum just kind of be swinging right here in the common sense middle, where we acknowledge the contributions of all of our military personnel, black, white, brown, gay, straight, transgender. We get to decide. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be hate, constant hate. You don't have to live in a country where you utterly hate the person you disagree with. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't. Somebody asked me yesterday about Trump. I'll close with this. Trump doesn't give a fuck about any of this. No, Trump doesn't care about anything but Trump. Trump could care less about DEI. He doesn't know who the Tuskegee Airmen are. He could care less about any of these issues, just like Donald Trump could care less about Israel or the Palestinian people. This is us. This is the people who put him in the White House. This is all of his Republican court, his court gestures, his court worshipers who believe in and every day say that he can do no wrong. It's on us. This is not on Trump. Trump is just a vehicle for a lot of hate, a lot of intolerance. Trump is the vehicle for this pendulum right now swinging way, way too far to the MAGA right. Thank you for listening, everybody. I wish you all a great weekend. Do me a favor. Remind yourself every day, we do not have kings in America. Not in America. No kings. Go to oneflaginitiative.org, will you? That's all one word. Join me. Become part of the No Kings campaign. Trying to build a big community, a big movement of Americans all coalesced around that one basic truth. We do not have kings in America. I think America needs to be reminded of this. I know, MAGA, you all need to be reminded of this. Go to oneflaginitiative.org. Join our No Kings campaign. Shoot me an email about anything you want. Shoot me an email about anything you want. The Social Contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. That's all one word. The Social Contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. By the way, my wife is always reminding me of this. I'm on Substack, Social Contract with Joe Walsh. Check me out on Substack. You can be a subscriber, an unpaid subscriber. You can be a paid subscriber. Go check it out if you're on Substack, The Social Contract with Joe Walsh. By the way, having a live interactive video this afternoon at 4:00 Eastern time with everybody on Substack. You can join us. God bless you. Have a great weekend. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract